Let's watch this video together.
In 2026, black folks still have to come down to this legislature and beg for something that they rightfully were born to have, and that is a right to vote and proper representation. We live in a time where one of your colleagues can turn around and tell an audience of women and black men and women, more specifically myself, you need to shut up, boy. And you, instead of telling him and correcting him on the mic, you tell the crowd that we need to maintain order. As if we are the problem inside of this building. The people came and showed up in droves because you are trying to interrupt the flow of what they were rightfully deserved. And that is proper representation. Let me tell you what racism is. Racism is when you insert your privilege and you use it to push out your superiority against people who look like myself. And in the words of Congressman Cleo Fields, I wake up every day and I can't wash this off. They can't wash that off. And if you're going to vote and tell us that we should not deserve the right to have proper representation because of the color of our skin, that's emphatically wrong. In fact, it was St. Augustine who said that an unjust law is no law at all. Anything that comes out of this body that is in full support behind what Jim Crow, because this ain't Jim Crow that we're dealing with now, we're dealing with Jim Crow policies, is wrong. And one thing that I simply just cannot understand, Senator Miguez isn't here right now, but for God's sake, your last name is Miguez. Your people are marginalized people, and you sound as though you are in support of a bill that hurts and harms marginalized people. You got to make that make sense to me today. Single Democratic leader on this board, I applaud you. Because these same people, they think because they can come and eat, that you go and eat with them, that they come and smoke cigars with you, that they crack glasses with you. Once they can
no, you're going to listen to me.
All right, you go ahead.
You're going to listen to me.
Go ahead.
You're going to stay on the four corners of the bill. We're not going to talk. No, you're not.
Okay.
You're going off. If you choose to keep on talking about
it's
racism,
okay. You may not like what I got to say. I'm going to get up the mic. It's okay. I'm going to leave the mic anyway because I knew you were going to do this.
You can leave now.
All right, I will.
Thank you.
I have questions for you. I'm sorry.
No, he's done talking, Senator. He's done.
That's okay. You're going to read on my rights. That's fine.
Go ahead, Senator Jenkins. You can make a statement.
What is the position there on those bills?
Each and every one of those bills disenfranchises black voters and Democratic voters across the state of Louisiana.
I did not know that you had been told to shut up. I did not know that
the actual quote, Senator, was "Y'all need to shut up, boy."
That is so offensive, and I do want to apologize on behalf of the Senate. I do want to apologize on behalf of the committee because that was so inappropriate, and I did not know that had occurred.
And if black people choose to be angry today, I don't want to hear anything from anyone else about it. Not a breakdown, not a video, not a post, not a caption, nothing. Unless you have black elders who dealt with the first iteration of Jim Crow, unless you have black ancestors who had to navigate, live, and die in these oppressive, inhumane, hateful systems, unless you understand what it's like to carry generations worth of injustice and epigenetic anger, I don't want to hear from you at all. I don't want your hot take. I don't want your mild take. I don't want your cold take because I don't want to take it. Because if anyone is entitled to their anger, if anybody in this whole situation is entitled to their anger, it is black folks. Black folks.
Welcome guys, and I'm your host Joshua, and I'm happy to bring you to this video. And already it's so exciting that the black folks are actually sharing that feeling that they have, and that is the inner feeling of that anger based on how they are being treated by the white folks. And it is amazing that many of them are standing up to what they think is right, and it is good about this. This issue between white folks and blacks is is not an issue that started today. And the surprising thing is that the white folks still think that many of the black folks of today is 2026. You heard that right. In 2026, you see, they still think that the black folks are the same, and that's why many of them are standing up to what they think is right. And this is good. This is good. And I hope that many of the white folks realizes this, that they are not dealing with the same set of people, the same set of black people that they used to. So I have a couple of videos right here where some of these Black Americans share their thoughts concerning what they have been through. All right, so you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell me what you think about the video. And let's watch other videos. Watch this.
Over the last few days, I've heard that we're living in Jim Crow. So as a history creator, I thought it'd be irresponsible of me to not even try to back up those claims using history. So I did. And my response to that is not something that I think you would think it might be. I do not think that we're living in Jim Crow. I think we're living in something much worse. That's not voter suppression, that's voter dilution. This video is going to be a little bit different than the ones that I normally do. I am just going off the dome. This is what I've researched. I have no cute, fancy, setup. This is just, it is what it is, but we got to talk about it. But hold your horses, because we will get there, but we just have to start somewhere else, because redrawing districts and congressional maps is nothing new. It's a tactic that's been used for decades. And I'm going to take you to 1980s Alabama. But first, we have to talk about what Jim Crow is and how we got here. The 14th and 15th Amendment was passed. It gave black men the right to vote, to be equal citizens. Now, this did not include black women, because we haven't got there yet where women had the right to vote. Fast forward to Reconstruction, and now you have black men earning office and being representatives and changing the landscape of the country in real time. Some were appointed, some were voted in, but nonetheless, the country was diversifying in a way that the majority did not like. Just because slavery was over doesn't mean that racism left with it. So this is when Jim Crow was established. You had literacy tests, poll taxes, economic retaliation, physical retaliation, intimidation, anything you can think of. They just wanted to make sure that black men could not show up to the polls and vote, because voter suppression was the tactic. Because black people were going to go to those polls, they were going to vote, and they had the numbers to actually assign representation that aligned with their interests. That was a problem. Representation was a direct problem to total control. Disenfranchisement was the greatest tool used for people who did not want to see the South or the country change at all. This ushered in the Civil Rights era, which eventually led to the 1965 Voting Rights Act being passed. This banned discriminatory voting practices, strengthened the 15th Amendment, and also added federal protections. One of those protections was pre-clearance. This is important because it required jurisdictions with histories of discrimination to have to get federal approval to change voting practices. This was a landmark law, and this is also why people thought that Jim Crow died when this was passed. But it didn't die, it evolved. Now, people could not just outright deny black voters or minority voters the ability to vote. So they had to change their tactics, and they did. Voter suppression became voter dilution, and it worked its way up through the decades. Now, voter dilution was always present. It just wasn't the main goal. Now, it had to become the main goal. And it worked quietly in places like Mobile, Alabama, starting in 1911, all the way up into 1980 when it got called out publicly by black voters. The case of the city of Mobile versus Bolden actually caused Congress to act a couple years later. Here's why. Since 1911, the city of Mobile had a 3-person city commission system. These members were elected at large, which meant every single person in the city would vote for these commissioners. On paper, that sounds fair, until you get into how the city of Mobile was districted. It never stopped black residents being able to vote. What it did do was dilute their voting power so that they never really got to choose who was representing their district. The majority did, and that's on purpose. Not the majority of their district, the entire city, a city that was already racially polarizing. And it constantly left these black voters with people who weren't interested in their interests and would not work towards them either. The Supreme Court ruled against them because they said that there was no constitutional violation for discriminatory effect. They could not prove that. And these black voters had no federal protections to help them against systems and structures that they knew were working against them. Mobile had perfected the art of voter dilution. The city could always say that we gave black residents the right to vote. We didn't stop them from coming to the polls, and their voices mattered equally. Their system was designed to look neutral, and you could argue that. What it did, though, was water down the black vote because they knew that they did not have the majority across the city. Congress understood that danger in 1982. They amended Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. This allowed voters to challenge election systems that propped up discriminatory results as opposed to discriminatory action, because intent could not be proven. Results could. Mobile versus Bolden was vital to this decision. This case did something important. It exposed a system that was operating in plain sight. It also exposed the evolution of Jim Crow. Jim Crow went from they cannot vote to I can allow them to vote, but I refuse to let their vote have power. We see the evidence of this through 2 terms, one called cracking, one called packing. Cracking is when a district is split in order to reduce its power across the board. An example of packing is putting all the black voters into one district so that you reduce their power elsewhere. Now, does that sound familiar when it comes to these new maps and these new districts that are being drawn in real time across the country? The Voting Rights Act of 2026 does not have the same power that it used to have. That's because the Supreme Court has messed with key provisions like the ones found in Section 4. And this has happened over time. This one in particular did away with pre-clearance. Do you remember how important pre-clearance was? So I'll go back to the original question. Are we living in Jim Crow? And my answer remains unchanged. No, we are not living in Jim Crow. We're living in something much worse. And you can see that happening in Tennessee. You can see it happening in Virginia. You can see it happening through the last 2 decades, and you could see it happening most likely in the rest of the states to come. So my question to you and me is, why would they do this, and what are we going to do about it? And voter dilution is much more dangerous than voter suppression. Not only does it strip you of your voting power, but it wastes your time. And I say this as objectively as I can. History has the opportunity to repeat itself, but it also has the opportunity to be changed right now. The point is that if we say this is like Jim Crow, but the old version, then technically we are wrong. This kind is wearing a completely different set of clothing. It's cerebral, it's technical, it's strategic, it's a different kind of warfare. And that kind of awareness means that it cannot be fought the same kind of way. And the case of the city of Mobile versus Bolden proves it. So if you call yourself a person of integrity, what are you going to do about that?
Racism is a thing of the past. It doesn't exist anymore. This is what I heard most of my life growing up in the South. I'd hear people say, oh, I'm not racist, I'm just prejudiced against certain people because, well, stereotypes, blah, blah, blah. All these same harmful things. Guess what? Racism is still alive and well in the United States. And it's not just in the South. It's everywhere. I've lived in all but 11 states. And guess what? Racism is in every one of them. But you're seeing it alive and well and come back to the forefront this week with all of the Voting Rights Act stuff that is happening. After the Supreme Court's ruling last week, immediately you saw Louisiana begin to redraw and remove representation for people of color in that state. Alabama is doing that. Tennessee is actively advancing a new map today. South Carolina is moving towards redistricting. Florida has already signed a new map, and Mississippi has called a special session. Now, Georgia is the only state in the Deep South that currently is not pursuing any sort of redistricting, with the governor saying that Georgia will not redraw for the 2026 elections because early voting is already underway, but new maps will be drawn by 2028. And let's be clear, these maps aren't being redrawn because the Supreme Court said they were illegal. They're being redrawn for the simple fact that racist white people don't want black people to have equal representation. That is why the lawsuit was filed in Louisiana, a similar one in Mississippi, and a similar one in Alabama. It is exactly the same thing that happened during the Jim Crow era. South Carolina at one point had 90% of their representatives as black former slaves. And then, well, Andrew Jackson ended Reconstruction. And immediately, black people were disenfranchised from voting and no longer were equally represented in politics. And that is exactly what white racist politicians in the South are attempting to do again. Get rid of people that they see as others having representation in what they consider their state house, their government, because they feel like giving others representation is taking something away from them. And that is the whole crux of the current Republican and conservative movement. If somebody I don't like gets something that I don't get all of, well, then it's not good for me. So no, racism never went away. It's alive and well across this country, and you will see other states follow suit for the simple fact that they can.
What do you think about racial equality in the state of Georgia? Do you believe the two races are equal or not?
Well, that's a hard matter to stipulate. I would like to say this, that there are more Negro colleges in the city of Atlanta than any city in the world. There are more Negroes own their own business in Atlanta than any city in the world. And also, there are more Negroes here that have nicer homes than any city in the world.
All right, guys. You know, this whole argument or this conversation about racism happening, yeah, you know, within the white folks is actually very true. You know, it's very true, and you know, it is something that has been cultured into many people. You know, from maybe their parents and whoever guides them, you know, the person will let them know that, oh, this set of people with this set of skin color, they are like this, they are like this. We are supposed to treat them like this. You know, they are not supposed to be respected like this. And it is very obvious. It is very obvious, and it reminds me of the very first video I brought to you of what the white guy said to this black man. Yeah, you know, telling him to shut up, boy. As an That is a grown-up man that you talk to like that, you know. And these are just, you know, these are just videos that we are seeing. What of the ones that are hidden and we cannot see? These are just, thank God for the fact that many videos are coming out, but what about those hidden ones that we cannot see? Because obviously racism is very bad. It's really very bad, but you know, many of these white folks don't want to stop. They don't want to stop. Just like they just want to keep on controlling, you know. And the black folks are standing up for that right now. I say no, right? And they are fighting them with everything that they got. See, when they are being stopped to do something, they're gonna find out why. Because you see an example, I brought a video of the man, this guy that was talking, right? So he explained some certain things using history, an example. He brought history back, relating everything one after the other, so that many will understand that this thing didn't just start now, it has been there, and is even more worse because certain people are beginning to bring it again and again. It's becoming worse. It's becoming worse. See, so history is, should I say, about to repeat itself, or it has been repeating itself, or is becoming more worse than it already were. You know, these white folks won't just stop. They won't just let the black guys be. You know, they you know, mistreatment. You know, mistreatment is too much. The hatred is too much, and this is not good. It's not good, right? What is there in this skin color? What is there in the skin color? You are living because you are breathing air. The black guy too is living because it's in oxygen, right? So what makes you think just because of your skin color you're quite different? And I like saying that many of these white folks, if they go to the black countries, they are being treated so well. They don't treat them like racist. Oh, this guy is white. They are going to do this to you. They are going to treat you this way. No, many of them are being treated well. They are being honored. And many countries, they are being treated like a god somewhere, right? But when the black folks come here, you know, they treat them as trash, giving them mediocre work, treating them as though they are not as humans, you know, they are not like them. And now they are culturing these things into their children, and even children are even doing it too. I'm going to bring out some videos for you so that you see this of culturing these things into you know, kids, which is not good. Then these kids grow up you know, bullying their classmates in schools and doing most of these things bullying the black community. Why? Because that is what they have seen, you know, most of their elderly ones do. So thank God that the you know, black community are awake now and they are standing up for their right. So I'm very happy about this. So I appreciate that you are watching today's video, and I'm your host Josh, and I want to thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video and let others get to see some of these things and learn from it, right? And I'm also excited that not all white folks are actually bad, right? There are some that are actually very good and support the fact that the black community is being treated unfairly in their own country, right? So I appreciate that. So I want to thank you for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And for those of you coming new to my channel, hit the subscribe button, subscribe, like today's video, and I will see you in my next video, guys. Bye.